So we're looking to you for some sort of what you've experienced since the launch there in Wake County.
Certainly. I mean, I think the number one thing I would say is that folks should come into the court system with, a healthy dose of patience. This is a huge lift for a court system that traditionally has been extremely paper heavy, intensive, dependent. And so to try and transition to a paperless court system, to replace a system that has been in the field for over 40 years, this is major transformational change for the courts, and it's going to come with, some bumps. That certainly is what we experience. Hopefully, we've helped iron some of those out. But I would expect that there'll be some hiccups on Monday and for days after that. And I would just hope that court personnel and the public would be patient as that goes on.
Tell me some of the biggest bumps you guys have faced.
I mean, I think certainly just one, you have to get to a certain ability and being able to actually use the system, and try and run court while you're using the system. And, it takes time to gain a certain level of proficiency, and then efficiency. And that's just true, for any of us who've gone through changing a use of a computer system, maybe getting a new phone and having to learn how that works, for example. I mean, this is a bigger deal than that, but it's a similar thing of you're really having to learn how the system works. We are continuing, though, to also just have some issues with the system. Unfortunately, we continue to experience outages when the system goes down. And, whereas historically you can rely on the paper and keep court running, sometimes you have to, take a timeout, maybe even send people home if the system doesn't come back up, and then try again the next day.
What are some of your biggest concerns at this point of those things that are continuing to linger and have not been resolved yet?
I mean, I think the biggest concerns that we have is, one, that the system is slower than what we historically are used to. And, again, the stability of the system. And then, there continue to be just some ongoing technology glitches, IMLs, as they refer to them, problems with the technology that they are still hammering out. I think some of the data integration issues, for example, that DMV is talking about, that we certainly have seen coming up, on a case-by-case basis. These are things that, 7 months into this project, I would have hoped we would be at a much smoother sailing than we are. But, we continue every day to try and make it work.
How big a problem is that? I know, the leaders here in Mecklenburg County, the sheriff, the district attorney, the police chief, they're concerned that their systems are not going to talk and that they're going to be missing some key information, whether it be when going to make an arrest or when going to a trial or, trying to arrest someone.
Yeah, I mean, I think a major breakdown in these systems, and and something that is really a step backwards, interestingly, is that the old legacy systems, when you performed an action in one of the systems, it automatically covered over or carried over to the other system. And so, if you recalled an order for arrest, for example, in the court side, it automatically did it on the law enforcement software side. And so, these systems do not. They require some duplicative entry and steps to make sure that those systems have the same information in them. And that's, a training issue, also a workload issue. And it just takes time for those things to, to become part of the norm and for people to make sure that all that information is accurate.
How much extra work are you and your staff doing with this system?
Certainly our clerk's office has been doing a lot of extra work. Unfortunately, it's been a huge lift for our clerk's office as they have tried to adjust and then go in and correct errors that may be created because of deficiencies in the system. Our office, we were so accustomed to being able to multitask, and when you're in a courtroom with 100 people on the docket, and you're trying to very quickly get through a 4-hour court session with that many people, you're dependent on being able to move quickly. And unfortunately, the system is just not nimble like that, and so it really has slowed down our ability to efficiently serve the public and dispose of cases.